This is him coming out. Speaks to reporters during the break. I see. So I don't know that we have the entry.
Are you considering settling the case?
So this whole thing sucks. Can we just revel in the misery real quick? Watch, back up. What? Look at him.
Are you considering settling the case?
Just over it. Oh, this is so good.
Of nothing. That's come out loud and clear. This is again one of the most respected men in the country and the world on credit. We've proven many times over, even long before today, this is totally conclusive. But we've proven this is just.
It's a little glassy-eyed. There's Eric. And by the way, whose idea was it to paint his attorney's cheeks with rouge like he's an animatronic doll in a clock in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Seriously. Did Trump just go up to him and go, look, whores use rouge, ladies pinch?
By a political system that should be ashamed of itself.
Yes, the entire political system should be ashamed of itself. Why can't a system totally feel shame?
After a political opponent. This comes from Washington. This
comes from Washington and other places where it could totally come from, and then it came from.
Biden. This case is, it's a joke.
That ought to do it. Yeah, I feel that settles. I mean, do you guys need to hear any more?
It's a joke.
It is a joke. It's a joke. And I am the punchline. How did that work?
The cash we didn't even need the loan. We had so much cash. We had far more cash than we had in the loan we're talking about.
We had so much more money, cash than the loan we're talking about. Yeah, but that was cash you got from another loan, stupid. You do realize when you take out a loan and then you turn the loan into cash by trading part of your investment in another property, that doesn't mean that's your cash.
This has come out loud and clear. I hope for the press to understand. I hope they.
I don't know that they did. No, you might want spell it out for them. You know what you should do? You should do the math.
Fairly, it cannot be more conclusive, and they're not finished. They're going over other figures that are even better. They're not finished because.
No, they're not finished. I mean, not obviously. Obviously, it looks bad. What happened today looks terrible, but that's only because it's in the middle. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like when you're rearranging a room or painting or something like that, like with tape on the corners and all. It just looks like shit, But it's gonna look awesome when we're done. 2 more weeks.
Years the numbers got even better.
No, they didn't. I showed you guys this morning, but like Trump had to have $237 million worth of loan payments forgiven. And because he didn't repay Deutsche Bank and he threatened to sue them. Luckily, they had plenty of Russian money in their coffers. I don't know where it came from. It's just weird that way.
By the way, these loans were all paid off, just so you understand that. They were all paid off.
No, they weren't. Again, he sued Deutsche Bank for $3 billion for predatory lending, and they ended up coming to a deal where they forgave a portion of the loan.
Loans that are due or were defaulted on at all, we never even got a notice of any difficulty.
Which is, again, remember what I'm telling you. Like, they told him he had 6 weeks to make good on the loan, or they were going to snatch $600 million back from him. And he sued them for $3 billion to keep him in court for a year. And then they settled on forgiving half of it because he brought in other investors, by the way, in that year.
The bank, Deutsche Bank.
But, and also hidden investors. Who are those people? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody's allowed to know. That sounds normal.
Extremely happy. They testified. They were extremely happy. They made their full money. And some of the loans were paid off early. This is just a witch hunt with all of the problems that New York has at this horrible, absolute.
Well, yes, that's true. Of all the problems New York has, witches aren't one of them, I would like to say for the record. They do not have. I mean, I say what you will about New York witch hunts, but they seem to be very effective. There are very few illegal witches. I mean, there's clearly some witches in New York, but they all. It's either a totally legal side hustle, and I think you have to have some kind of a permit. It's the same, the nuts on nuts for nuts vendors and the hot dog vendors. You have to have a permit like they have. You can't just freewheel it like those assholes that wrap bacon around hot dogs and sell them at night. That's not witchcraft. Okay, that's not real witchcraft. I want to be clear.
Horrible. Attorney General would do this is disgraceful. It's a disgrace to our country.
Okay, I got to tell you, like, no business civil lawsuit from a city against a business is disgraceful to the country. Get over yourself.
And again, I should be right now in Iowa and New Hampshire.
Go to Iowa. Nobody's fucking stopping you. I'm sure there's a half-empty gymnasium you could be talking to. You could be saying all this shit right now with a corn dog in your fucking mouth. Because
South Carolina, I shouldn't be sitting in a courthouse, and I don't have
don't.
to sit here.
Right. Yeah, that kind of blows your case, doesn't it?
Hampshire, South Carolina, I shouldn't be sitting in a courthouse, and I don't have to sit here. I could just do whatever I want to do, but I want.
Right. There you go. I don't have to be sitting here. I could just do what I want to do.
Make sure that you get the true story.
But I want to make sure you get the true story. What true story? You say the same shit every time you come out.
Because this is a crooked attorney general who did this because she was running for governor and
Yeah, that's something you could never say in South Carolina
for attorney.
after talking to your attorney.
But she ran for governor. She failed badly. She got like 2% of the vote in the polls, and she went back to getting Trump. In fact, she said, "I have big things to do. I'm going to go back," and she meant, "I'm going to go back and get Trump." That was her big thing. So,
Yeah, so that's how she got the job.
I just want to say it's a shame that this can happen.
It is a shame. It's a shame and a sham. It's a shammy shame.
By the way, other cases are just like this too. The D.C. case, just like this.
No, not so much.
Boxes hoax. You read the other day where they leaked out that Biden has no problem with the boxes. But
It leaked out that Biden has no problem with the boxes. Yeah, it's not the boxes he's worried about. It's the shit that's in them, dummy. What do you mean? What? Yeah, he has no problem with the boxes. It was the truck that bothered him.
What happens with that? He had probably 10 or 15 or 20 times more boxes than we did. He had about
That's because he's an old man, and that's from his time in the Senate, stupid.
a 40 or 50-year period.
Right, because it's his senatorial papers, which are not under the Presidential Records Act, and yeah.
Leaked out, he's got no problems. But me, they go after. It's a two-tiered system of injustice. And
A two-tiered system of injustice. There's two different kinds of injustice. There's leaded and unleaded, and clearly he's had the leaded.
the Attorney General in this case should be ashamed of themselves.
Ashamed of the sham. He should be ashamed of the sham. It's a shamey sham anyways.
Again, it comes out of the DOJ in Washington, the White House.
Yeah. It's a good thing he's not in Iowa or South Carolina, because somebody there might mention that he's already said that.
Because they want to try and
That's the thing about the Midwest and the South. Sometimes they'll go, "Hey man, didn't you just say that same shit? Like, are you just gonna say that? Excuse me, I'm Glenn Barnes Toledo from the Raleigh Herald. Real quick, you keep saying the same shit over and over again. I can't tell if you're doing it on purpose, like it's some sort of propaganda thing, because you allegedly had that book of Hitler speeches on your nightstand or whatever, and you're doing it on purpose, or do you just fucking not know? Because it does matter. I just need to write this down. My editor keeps asking me why my notes all look the same. I keep coming back. I swear to God, every time I come sit out here after your court cases, I could just turn in the exact same notes from the last time.
an opponent so that he can win, so that we can have another 4 years of squalor. We can have
4 years of squalor. 3.7% unemployment and another robust jobs report and huge gains in manufacturing jobs and yeah.
another 4
Squalor.
of millions of people coming in from jails and mental institutions.
Is that where you came from? You mean pouring into the New York court system?
Pouring into our country.
Yeah, well, that's I appreciate the cartels setting up a water slide for all the lunatics.
This is what's happened to our country.
By the way, I don't know if I may be mistaken on this, but you guys would know in the chat room. Haven't the cartels started using catapults to just fling the lunatics over the wall? I thought I saw that somewhere. Is that how they do it? Or is it kind of a slingshot thing where they, instead of going boing like that, they whip them around a couple times. So they're nice and dizzy when they come over and stuff. And then, of course, they throw a bunch of like kitchen knives afterwards and, and they land around and then they just pick up whichever one feels best, right?
Nation, because of stuff like this. You heard things today that nobody knew. Because
yes, nobody knew that crooked something, sham something, DOJ something, political opponent something.
A private company. I am a private company.
You are a private company? I'm on the Brute Squad. You are the Brute Squad. What?
That nobody knew because I was a private company. I am a private company.
He is a private company. I mean, hey, maybe Mitt Romney was right after all. Maybe corporations are people. In this case, corporations are assholes.
And the numbers are great. Now, the other thing, if you notice, 2011.
The numbers are great. I'm a corporation, and the numbers are great. I really am 215 pounds and 6'3".
That's long beyond the statute of limitations.
Oh, by the way, this is the other thing, too. Is like, I'm guilty, but you missed your shot.
That's 12, 13 years ago we're talking about. The statute.
Yeah, but you kept using the lie over and over again. You kept re-upping it. And so just because the first original draft of the document was this thing, doesn't mean if you keep using it, the crime re-ups every time. Do you understand? Like, to use the smoking gun reference, if you buy a gun a long time ago and you shoot somebody with it, and you keep shooting somebody with it, even though there's no, let's say it was assault the first time, you can't get busted for the assault the first time if it's beyond the statute of limitations. They find out you used that gun in an assault 20 years ago and no, you were never charged for it, but they can still charge you for the murders you commit now, right?
Limitations is like 5, 6 at a max, but like 5 years. We're talking about, she sued us in 2011, but these loans were all paid off. There's nobody injured. They call.
Hi, stupid. Look, he has not been found guilty of stuff in this court. They're not dealing with punishment for those crimes. He's not been found. Nope. He's not been found guilty of those things because they are past the statute of limitations. What they're showing is a pattern of behavior. The idea is that I did this once, I won't do it again, or I did this once before, I've always done it, and if you let me, I will do it again forever. And that's the punishment that they're looking at. So that he can't get fined for these things that are beyond this certain point, and already the fine is too big anyways. But they also can't stop him. Like, they can use that as an example that he won't stop doing this. They have to look at his pattern of behavior.
There's no victims. The banks love Trump.
No.
A lot of loans weren't paid off, but they weren't by me.
Ooh, what?
The banks love Trump. A lot of loans weren't paid off, but they weren't by me.
They weren't paid off, but they weren't paid off by not paid off by you?
It is a great company. You heard what they said. Even the bank said this is a great company. One of the best. I think they said the best company that they deal with.
No, I guarantee they didn't say that.
And this is what I have to go through. Fraud from...
By the way, if this is the best company they deal with, that means everyone else they deal with is the mob. It's the only company with most of our stuff is like drug runners and stuff like that. We just at least know that these dumbasses aren't going to end up, killing one of our relatives.
Fraudulent attorney general that valued a incredible club in Florida that's worth 50 to 100 times more than they put down, but they fraudulently valued it low. This,
by the way, using his argument for why the taxes should be lower on the property.
should be under investigation for what she did. She's a disgrace.
Well, that's gotta hurt. Being called a disgrace by you. Has anybody checked on her? We should make sure. Check the ledges around New York, honestly, because this guy thinks she's a disgrace. That's gotta hit.
I did hear the judge say that he's going to take it under advisement when we said you have to clear our name of that fraud, because when he ruled the way he did, he didn't know anything about the case. He didn't know. He ruled against me. He didn't know anything about the case. Now he sees
Yeah, he did.
things from the leading expert, the leading person, a man who's
The leading person of all the people. This guy's in front.
on the Pulitzer Committee, most respected person.
Wait, he's on the Pulitzer committee? Who?
Leading person, a man who sits on the Pulitzer Committee, most respected person, the Stern School, NYU, top professor, a very honest man too, by the way, very honorable. If he didn't agree, he wouldn't say what he's saying. And he said these were incredible loans. I didn't even need the money. So here's the story. I hope you write it fairly, because we have a very...
I didn't even need the money. You're on. That's the funny thing. I robbed the bank for shits and giggles. Yeah, I didn't even. It's funny. Like sure, a guard was killed and a bunch of other shit happened, but Your Honor, you don't understand. I didn't even need the money from the bank. It was just exciting. You know what I mean? I just like, wow, let's rob a bank. It's a Wednesday.
Corrupt country. We have a very corrupt political
Yes, this is the guy that Trump paid $900,000. His paid expert witness.
system, and they're doing this to hurt a political opponent. This
Well, if they're doing it, then apparently, according to you, it isn't working. So I don't know why you'd be upset about it. I would just, if I were you, I would shut down my business in New York and move, all of my business enterprises to Florida, where I know the governor personally and he likes me.
third world country stuff, this is banana republic stuff, and it's a shame. It's a shame what's happening to our country. Thank you very much.
It's a shame what's happened to your country. Thank you very much. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Look at the picture on this Happy Hanukkah thing. Watch. Former President Trump releases Hanukkah message. Look at his face. Happy Hanukkah. Yelling. Wait, we have to
I want to wish everyone a very happy Hanukkah.
Everybody? What if we don't celebrate Hanukkah? What if, I guess, what are you going to shove Hanukkah down our throats? I'm just kidding.
The miracle of Hanukkah began more than 2,000 years ago when a proud band of Jewish patriots courageously stood up and reclaimed their freedom, their faith, and their traditions from an oppressive tyrant.
It's basically just like me. I'm Moses. Biden is the Pharaoh. I'm also the Spartans and the Jews. Also, I might be the golden cow.
At great victory, the Jewish heroes prepared to rededicate the Holy Temple.
Honest to God, whoever's idea it was to create a Wikipedia reader that uses his voice, it was a mistake. It's a mistake.
Found only enough oil to light the lamp for one night. Yet by the grace of the Almighty, the flames radiated for 8 days and 8 nights. Ever since, the menorah has been a symbol of Jewish perseverance. And
ever since then, the menorah.
Ever since the menorah has.
Yeah, no. Ever since the menorah wasn't the cause of it. Ever since then, the menorah has been a. Never mind.
Flames radiated for 8 days and 8 nights. Ever since, the menorah has been a symbol of Jewish perseverance in the face of oppression and of God's hope, mercy, and love in times of hardship.
You can tell it's all like, you can see how heartfelt it is. It gets even more heartfelt after the edit right here.
Of oppression and of God's hope, mercy, and love in times of hardship. This Hanukkah season, Jewish Americans and people all over the world.
Jesus Christ. I had no idea Hanukkah was a reverse mortgage scheme.
Still reeling from the monstrous Hamas terror.
The monsters, Hamas terror.
That people all over
Fuck me.
the world are still reeling from the monstrous Hamas terror attacks on
attacks.
innocent men, women, and children. To everyone touched by these barbaric atrocities, we pray that God will bring you healing, comfort, and peace.
Yeah, you know, healing, comfort, and peace. Just whip those out. Don't, whatever you do, don't hesitate on those words and infuse them with meaning at all. It's best really to just blaze right through them. Just healing, comfort, and peace. Just get them out of the way. I know you're uncomfortable with those words, so just say them, throw them away. You know what I mean? Just throw them away.
We recommit ourselves to extinguishing the evil of anti-Semitism from the earth. We reaffirm the everlasting solidarity with the Jewish people, and we go forward confident with God's help.
With God's help, like our own spiritual GPS.
And light will overcome this horrible darkness.
This darkness, okay.
Help. In the end, light will overcome.
Jesus Christ, this is terrible.
Confident with God's help. In the end, light will overcome this horrible darkness. Once again, happy Hanukkah and God bless you all. I want.
Oh God, it's so painful. Just like he always talks like a spiky turd negotiating its way out of a cow's backside. Just like everything is just so constipated. Okay, here's another break. I don't know if is this the same break or is this another break? It's hard to tell, like I said, because it's the same shit.
Well, I think it's going very well. It's another day that we've been proven totally innocent. The expert witness, one of the most respected people in the country.
Honest to God, what the fuck is up with his attorney's cheeks? What the shit is? What is that? He looks. Honest to God, next time I see you, if you don't look like an elf made out of apples, you're fucking fired. I don't know. Honest to God, that is so odd. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I am the deep state. Like, subscribe, etc. I can save shit. So I think we saw it's going great, except the part that sucks and are an abomination and a shame, but it's a great shame.
Major corporations, you heard it all.
No, they didn't. Stupid. Nobody was in there.
He's at the Stern School of Business at NYU, a top professor. He reviewed fully the documents that this horrendous Attorney General put.
Horrendous. She's wow. First she's she's a disgrace, and now she's horrendous. I don't know how she can take this kind of abuse. Without giggling too much. I'm worried that she'll split her side laughing at this dickhead.
And he found absolutely no fraud accounting. Fraud of any kind.
No, none whatsoever. This one dude who I paid $900K to didn't find anything. My expert witness for the defense didn't find any fraud at all. Now, obviously, I was very selective in the documents I had him review. Sure.
This is a highly respected man. I don't know him.
Well, that you know what that means. The next time we hear from this guy, he's going to come out and go, had I known what I've just found out, I never would have said what I said in court. And of course, Donald Trump is a horrible, horrible person, and I wouldn't let him near any of my female relatives unless they each had a live fired chainsaw as it happened, and I would never vote for him in a million years. And then suddenly he'll become a Democrat who just got him coffee.
But he's a expert witness.
Yes, we know you hired an expert witness. He's just a professional witness for the business class. You don't say.
And he found no fraud.
It's amazing. Not even on nothing even remotely. It's weird. There's this whole case, and he didn't find anything that could be even construed. So he's an expert at selective reading?
Whatsoever. He found no accounting fraud whatsoever. And like everyone else, he said, what are we doing here?
Like everyone else, he said, "What are we doing here? You're getting paid to be an expert witness, I think."
Doing here. This is a political witch hunt. This is meant to influence an election. This also comes from the White House.
Well, why would it?
This is not just a state matter, because the White House is controlling district attorneys. In fact, in the
Yeah, but I thought why would you think that? She ran on going after you. Why would she need to be controlled? What? Again, I don't understand. If Letitia James is horrendous and a disgrace and she, ran on getting Trump and that was singularly her thing, why would she need to be pushed by the White House to do it? Wouldn't they just sit back and go, holy shit, she's got it. I don't know. You guys need to give her anything? Nah, I'm good. She's going to go further than we would go. Shit.
Attorney's office, they put one of their top people, DOJ put one of their top people right under the Attorney General, put him into the district attorney's office, also put a man into the state Attorney General's office, Letitia James' office.
Right, but again, she ran on doing this, so did she request those people because they had awareness of the case? That's an interesting question.
Happened to be the same man. This is coming right from the White House. This is
Happened to be the same man. So there's one person in two different roles that you're talking about. Okay.
Disgraceful situation.
It is disgraceful. It's horrendous and disgraceful. It's a horrendous disgrace. The whole thing. It's a sham witch hunt. Hoax.
Never seen anything like it.
Never seen anything like that. And probably like no one's ever seen before. And they're gonna win big league.
But this expert witness, highly respected by everybody.
Everybody. I respect. You respect him. I don't know who he is, but I respect him already.
With a resume that few people have ever seen before.
Yeah, listen to this.
Everybody with a resume that few people have ever seen before.
With a resume that few people have ever seen before. What? He's that respected, but nobody knows what his resume is? What? What is that?
By everybody with a resume that few people have ever seen before.
Honestly, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know. I don't know what he thinks. I don't know what he thinks. Few people have ever seen better than few people have ever seen before. He has a secret resume. Yeah, it's his LinkedIn is completely blocked.
There was no fraud. There was no accounting fraud. There was nothing.
There was nothing. There was no business. There was no money. There was no. The name Trump didn't even show up on the documents.
And this is what we're doing here while people are being murdered right outside on the sidewalks and the streets of New York, while people are.
For the record, there are a certain number. It's a huge city, and it is New York after all. And there's a certain number of people that get killed on the streets and the sidewalks over time because of just the sheer volume. But I gotta say, statistically speaking, most of the people that get killed in New York are just like anybody else who get killed. They get killed inside. They get killed in buildings, in apartments. Most people know who kills them personally. Maybe it's too much Law and Order, but I always assume most of the murders in New York happen in stairwells.
Horrible, violent crime at levels that nobody's ever seen in the city before.
Well, you know what? You know why that is? It's because somebody covered these crimes up with that guy's resume, and apparently it makes things invisible.
This is what the Attorney General's spending all the time on. So just to put it, finally, he's going to continue to testify.
Just to put it mildly?
So just to put it, finally, he's going to continue.
Just to put it finally. You know what? I take it back. You're great at riffing.
Testify, but I don't imagine he's going to be changing his basic statement. His finding is that there was no accounting fraud whatsoever. The statements that we put in were very conservative. They were the opposite of what they said. The accounting fraud and the fraud was
yeah, again, why can't he be in South Carolina and Iowa and say the same shit? Like, it's a fucking broken record anyways. You could play a broken record on any turntable
The judge and the attorney general who took assets and made them numbers that were fraudulent.
Took assets and made them numbers that are fraudulent. The best words. I mean, who am I to argue?
As an example, Mar-a-Lago. As an example, Doral in Miami. As
Okay. Oh, that Doral.
an example, 40 Wall Street.
40 Wall Street. Oh, you mean the building that you said had 10 more floors than it actually does?
And others.
And that's 100% has zero vacancies and is like 40% vacant?
Where they cut the values to a level that nobody's even imagined.
Nobody can imagine that value. Well, you know, I have to say, zero is almost impossible on a philosophical level to imagine because it is total nothingness. And, you know, I think it was Jean-Paul Sartre who said, how do you spell Sartre?
Look at Doral and look at the numbers that we're talking about for Doral. But the most obvious of all, because of the fact that people know it, is when you value a place like Mar-a-Lago at $18 million when it's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times that amount. We had an expert witness in the other day. He's the biggest broker in the country for luxury properties. I guess he's the ultimate expert, actually.
Yeah, ultimately.
And he valued Mar-a-Lago at over $1 billion. And the judge valued it at $18 million. The judge doesn't know the value of Mar-a-Lago. And
Yeah, look, we brought in a guy that we paid to say it's worth $1 billion. Now, could I sell it for that? Of course not. And would anybody buy it for that? Of course not. But I could say that.
the Attorney General is the one that convinced the judge to say that. It's a fraud. The whole case is a fraud. What they've done is they've weaponized justice, and this is coming from the White House.
Really? So you're saying that they're going after you and Hunter Biden?
Because I'm beating Biden by a lot. And this is coming right out of the White House. You know it, I know it, and they know it. So just to end this.
Yes, please just end this.
The expert witness, one of the most highly respected people in the country for
Who's got a resume no one has ever seen.
this kind of work, found absolutely no
This kind of work, by this kind of work, he means being an expert witness for rich dickheads trying to avoid, their comeuppance in court.
accounting fraud. This case should be ended. Also, the judge,
Oh, I thought you were going to end it.
as you know, was rebuked in that he was overturned
Oh, no.
by the appellate division of the New York State Supreme Court, which is a higher court, much higher court than where we are right now.
By the way, he means the parts that were the parts of the case that involved stuff that was past the statute of limitations. So the judge did not factor that part of it in the money, but just the pattern of behavior. This is really about the dissolution of the company. Like everything that he's done inside the statute of limitations warrants the $250 million fine that they're looking at, and he knows it, and everybody knows it. The difference is it could go up to 600 if he thinks this guy did it with like a wanton disregard for the rules and did it flippantly and is dragging the court through all this shit. He can stack dollars on top of that. That's why when Don Jr. was talking, it was like every word he uttered cost his dad another $1 million. But on top of that, it wasn't so much about the fine again, but that the statute of limitations couldn't apply to like the guilt of the company, because there's plenty now to cover that part of it. They just couldn't deal with some other aspect of the civil, again, the criminal aspect of it. In a civil trial, I don't even know why it would matter if the city is suing you for this kind of stuff. They just couldn't make up for it. They can just go, yeah, he was an asshole back then. We just can't charge him for it. But again, dissolution and $250 million is all based on the figures that he's done since the absolute back end of the statute of limitations. The problem is he's been engaged in the same criminality for way longer, and they keep bringing it up. So he seems to think he's being fined or found guilty because of that stuff. And the appellate court's like, no, there's a statute of limitations. But they're like, everything past that, that's why he qualifies for this $250 million in dissolution ruling, which he's already been. There's plenty. And here's the thing. You spell this out as best I can. Trump says that the appellate court they won on 90%, and that this 10% that he's been found guilty on, this is what they're working on the punishment for, which means that think of all the fraud and all the double dealing and the bank versus the IRS bullshit and his lying about his properties and the size of them and the quality of them and the number of vacancies and all that kind of stuff, and understand that the stuff he's being busted for is only 10% of how much he actually did it. Everything previous to that, he's 90% of the time, 100% of the time, he's been a philandering crook. But he's only getting busted for 10% of his crooked philandering. The other 90% of the time, he was doing the same shit. That when he says we beat the case or we won on 90%, means we didn't have to. But he beat it because he didn't have to pay fines or be found guilty of stuff that he was guilty of simply because of the statute of limitations, not because he didn't do something wrong.
To acknowledge it, this case would be over. Because that was about 90% of the case.
That's that part.
Into a statute of limitations. This case should be over. This case should have never been brought. This was a political witch hunt by an attorney general who's out of control.
She is. I can barely hear you over her screaming.
And tried to get elected governor and failed. But this is a political...
That's really... It's interesting because recently you tried to get elected president and failed. I mean, you did it once, but, so did Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush.
Witch hunt, and our country should be ashamed of what's going on. But
you're what?
A political witch hunt, and our country should be ashamed of what's...
Yeah, we're really not. I got to tell you, we're not. I think we're doing okay. I think a lot of your fans are freaking out, but...
Going on. But we will probably go forward.
Wait, is somebody playing Mario Brothers in the background? Listen to
what's going on, but we will.
There it is. Did somebody just get a mushroom or an extra gold coin?
Go forward, and I'm sure nothing will have any bearing on what this judge does. It's a very sad day for our country. Because
again, I'm feeling all right.
People are coming in. We could say this every day.
You do say this every day, stupid, and it doesn't change anything.
And we are totally innocent. This is weaponization of justice. This is something that nobody's ever seen to this extent.
Well, yeah, because we've never had a crook like you in office before.
Election interference. It's a sad day for our country.
Is it a sad day for our country, though? Has he brought that up yet? Someone asked the court stenographer to read back the remarks.
Like this can take place. I'm sitting in a courthouse instead of being in Iowa, where I should be.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Even though I'm leading by about 40 points.
Yeah, so why do you have to go to Iowa? I'm leading by about 40 points in empty gymnasiums. In the half filling a gymnasium category, I'm leading. Who's the guy? Solid bald spot happening today. Just giving up. Okay, so that's the other one we went to. Let's kill that. Oh, yeah. So I don't lose track. This is Jesus Christ. Does he say the same thing every day? This is the next one. He didn't take nearly as much time. They take a short break at one point. Let me guess, something fraud, disgrace, should have never been brought, valuable properties. Have you been injured at home or on the job? Would you like to be? That's why we heard Mario. He's one of his attorney. Makes a lot of sense. Gloom, 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 gloom. Gloom, 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 dum, 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 dum.
The Attorney General. What did you think of last night's debate? The Attorney General committed.
Somebody yelled, "What do you think of last night's debate?"
Fraud, and you just saw it right up there. She's a fraud. This whole case is a fraud. It's election.
You call me a fraud. I call you a fraud. I call you a fraud. You're a fraud. You're a fraud. I'm not a fraud. You're a fraud. That's what this is.
It's keeping me.
I'm a some say a rubber ball, and Letitia James is a glue, and whatever she says bounces off me and sticks to peekaboo, because
Here instead of Iowa and New Hampshire.
Go.
You just saw it.
No, I didn't just see it. Go. I saw you in Iowa. It wasn't impressive.
Attorney General's a fraud. She committed fraud.
It's just like, that's it. It's a fraud. If I say fraud, I should say fraud again. And then once I'm done saying fraud, I'll say fraud again. And then now she's a fraud. See how it works? And bald spot. Yep. There's just nobody on bald spot watch anymore. They've just kind of blown it off. I think he's just like, who gives a shit?
Okay, coming back after lunch. Are you coming back?
And the waddle is rough. All right, so that was that one. And then there's the Happy Hanukkah. And then is this? Yeah, here's the showing. This is the end. This is the last one, I think. This is him coming out. By the way, you're watching Housemarks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Subscribing really would help. We're close to 60K. We're so excited to get 60K so I can worry about 65. Let's do this.
Mr. Trump, a group of New York senators has asked the Board of Elections to keep you off next year's ballot in New York. What's your response to that?
So today was a very good day.
He's just blowing off the question. You're not my... Someone was supposed to plant a question about how today went.
Today we proved yet again, every day we do, that this was an amazing company, has more cash than the loans. We have much bigger cash than any of the loans.
We have much bigger cash than in the loans.
We paid back in full. There was no problem with the loans. The bank was very happy. They testified. Everything was perfect. And it's a disgrace that this case goes forward. And it shouldn't go forward. The other thing we're asking is that, and we're asking actually the media to look at, we won, as you know, in the Court of Appeals. And the judge refuses to honor.
Oh yeah, this is the thing he keeps hammering the most, because again, he's been found guilty on 10% of this stuff already. Like the 10, whatever he says, 90%, which again is just his assertion of how much versus it's just like something in the order of like 13 of the charges versus 100 charges, that they were going to bring against him. They narrowed it down, which happens all the time. You just go for the bigger charges and you conflate some charges and put them together. The appellate court will say that's a double charge of the same thing, and so they'll knock stuff off, or they'll make you coordinate. Plus, you can't afford to even go after some of just the volume of charges, so they killed some of them and whatever. But now in the penalty phase, the judge is looking back at what kind of businessman, what kind of human being Trump has been, and that reflects on whether or not he's going to lose his business license, which in New York State, which is what this is really about right now. The money part of it, he's going to fight and bitch about and try to throw a monkey wrench in it and all this other stuff. But the business license thing, that's done, because even if they put a temporary stay on it, it's not going to hold, and then he's going to have to shut down his business there. And it's also one of the easiest things he can do. So.
Victory. This is a first that anybody can find. When you win in the Court of Appeals, the judge has no choice but to honor it. This judge didn't. This was like something happened a number of years ago where a developer had zoning, and the zoning was done and completed, and this judge didn't like the zoning, so he vetoed it, and he said he's not going to allow the building to be built, and then the Court of Appeals overturned him. But this is a...
Is it? Did you guys get that? That's the story. It was like this judge, and I don't know if he means literally Ingron or this judge in his head, had a problem with zoning and just let the zoning go and whatever. It's just silly. Hold on. Back up.
The zoning, so he vetoed it, and he said he's not going to allow the building to be built, and then the Court of Appeals overturned him. But this is...
What building would that be? Is it? Do we don't even care about the detail at all?
A case that should have never been brought. This is a witch hunt. This is election interference at a level that has never seen before. It comes out.
Yes, this is a witch hunt that at a level never has seen before.
This is a witch hunt. This is election interference at a level that has never seen before.
Has never seen before. Just I guess he's just dropping pronouns and proper nouns out of sentences now. Is that where we are?
The DOJ in the White House in order to hurt a political opponent, and actually it's...
Sorry, to what?
In order to hurt a political opponent, and actually it's driving up my polls because the people of our country get it. Our poll numbers are the highest I've ever had, and the people of our country get it. It's a disgrace to America. Thank you very much.
Do you think any expert testimony has changed the judge's mind?
Oh, there's Eric. Give him the tap again. Remember the last time, whenever it's a bad day, Eric touches him, which is kind of sweet. But you could tell that Eric has jockeyed up ahead of Don Jr. as the favorite son lately, largely because Trump threw him under the bus and made him culpable in more of this. This is why he had to plead the fifth 400 times in his deposition, the same way Trump did, whereas Don Jr. and Ivanka could both answer questions because they didn't do any of the document signing that they're talking about. So they're both in the same boat. That this is, and it might also be that a lot of this is Eric's fault. That Eric was dumb and overt about stuff that he should have been more covert about, and he knows it. So there's a couple of times where he's putting his hands on his dad when he's left. Either one, because his dad seems like he's sundowning and he's stressed out and he's seeing him for real whenever they leave the place. But also this little bit of like guilt taps, right? You know what I mean? Because he's been wigging out during this entire thing as well.